Yo, hold up. What went down on NBA Today's film breakdown session of the Knicks-Sixers preseason opener is going to completely reshape how you think about New York's championship ceiling. And I'm not talking about some surface level, they looked good in preseason nonsense that evaporates the moment real basketball starts. We're talking about legitimate offensive execution, defensive rotations, bench depth contributions, and the kind of ball movement that had Malika Andrews and the entire panel genuinely excited about what Mike Brown's system could unlock from this roster. When they started pulling up clips showing Jalen Brunson orchestrating high pick-and-roll sets that created wide-open corner threes for Michael Bridges, when Jordan Clarkson was getting his own shot off the bounce like the microwave scorer he's always been, when Malcolm Brogdon was managing the game and creating advantages through simple DHO actions, I had to pause, because this wasn't just a preseason win. This was a preview of offensive versatility that could genuinely challenge any team in the Eastern Conference. So I'm watching NBA Today right as they're queuing up their film breakdown segment, and suddenly the entire panel shifts into this detailed X's and O's analysis mode where they're not just showing highlights, but actually breaking down the tactical sophistication behind each possession. You could feel the energy in that studio transform, because this isn't casual preseason basketball where teams are just running vanilla sets and getting conditioning. This is Mike Brown installing a legitimate offensive system that maximizes spacing, creates mismatches through movement, and puts players in positions to succeed based on their actual skill sets, rather than forcing them into rigid roles that don't fit. Let me paint you the complete picture of what really transpired during this segment, because the surface-level box score analysis that you're seeing everywhere completely misses the schematic beauty, the player movement principles, the defensive rotations that create offensive opportunities, and why this particular game, despite being preseason, actually matters as a proof of concept for what New York is trying to build. Richard Jefferson was walking through possessions step by step with the telestrator, and when RJ gets this deep into film study on a preseason game, you know there's legitimate substance worth examining. Here's the foundational play that set the tone for the entire segment. And this is crucial for understanding how Mike Brown's offense differs philosophically from what Tom Thibodeau ran for 5 years. Jalen Brunson comes off a high pick-and-roll at the top of the key, and instead of just using the screen, he fakes like he's going to use it and then spins in the opposite direction. The defender overcommits to getting over the screen, which gives Brunson leverage driving into the lane. Now, Andre Drummond, who's the backside big man for Philly, has to step up and play the drive, because everyone in that building knows Brunson can finish with either hand, has an elite floater package, and is absolutely lethal in the mid-range. But here's where the play design gets really sophisticated, and this is what had Kendrick Perkins nodding along during the breakdown. As Brunson spins into the lane and splits the defense, Karl Anthony Towns makes a perfectly timed slot cut from the elbow toward the basket. That cut forces Tyrese Maxey to pick up Towns for just a split second, which creates the window for Mikal Bridges to leak out to the weak side corner. Brunson has elite court mapping ability. He knows exactly where all 5 defenders are positioned even while navigating traffic, so he whips the ball cross-court to Bridges, and Maxey turns around in the opposite direction because he still thinks Bridges is at the top of the key where he started the possession. Wide open 3 for Mikal, and he drains it. Stephen A. Smith was going absolutely off about how plays like this are what separate championship-level offenses from teams that just have talented players running isolation sets. The Knicks have Jalen Brunson, who can create his own shot and force defensive rotations through individual brilliance, but he's also an elite facilitator who finds the open man when defenses collapse. That combination, the ability to score one-on-one when needed, and the vision to exploit advantages created by defensive attention, is what makes elite point guards genuinely transformational for team offense. The Jordan Clarkson addition became a major talking point during the segment, and this is where you see how Mike Brown is building legitimate bench depth that can maintain or even extend leads when starters rest. Clarkson is a proven bucket getter who can play plug-and-play minutes as a starter, but thrives coming off the bench as a microwave scorer. The clip they showed had Clarkson posting up a rookie defender, hitting him with a quick step-back fadeaway from mid-range that was absolutely unguardable. He's not an elite defender and he's not the most versatile player, but when you need someone to get you 15-18 points in 25 minutes and keep the offense flowing while Brunson sits, that's exactly what Clarkson provides. Max Kellerman made this observation about bench construction that I thought was brilliant. The Knicks now have 3 legitimate ball handlers who can run the offense in Brunson, Clarkson, and Malcolm Brogdon. That's 3 different players who can initiate actions, make reads, and create advantages for teammates. When you combine that with the shooting ability of Miles McBride, the two-way versatility of Josh Hart, and the scoring punch that multiple guys can provide, you've got one of the deepest 8-man rotations in the Eastern Conference. The Malcolm Brogdon film study was fascinating because it showed how a veteran point guard manages games differently than a score-first player. There was this beautiful possession where Brogdon receives the ball on the wing, immediately attacks downhill off a handoff from the big, and creates weak-side rotation from Philadelphia's help defense. As the help defender rotates over to stop the drive, Brogdon kicks to the corner where Landry Shamet is waiting. The topside defender rotates to Shamet, which forces another rotation, and the ball swings one more time to Garrison Matthews for a wide-open 3. That's 4 passes creating endless defensive rotation until someone breaks down. And Matthews, who had an excellent preseason debut, drains the shot. Richard Jefferson kept emphasizing throughout the breakdown that ball movement at this level isn't accidental. These are designed actions where players understand spacing principles, know where help is coming from, and trust that swinging the ball will create better shots than forcing contested looks. That trust and that systematic execution is what Tom Thibodeau's offense often lacked. Too much isolation, too much predictability, not enough creativity in generating advantages. The defensive effort highlights showed that New York isn't just going to outscore teams, they're going to get stops when needed. There was this beautiful sequence where Malcolm Brogdon jumps a passing lane for a steal, and the Knicks immediately push in transition before Philly's defense can get set. Tyler Kolek fills the lane, multiple players sprint to the corners creating width, and Garrison Matthews finishes with a fading corner 3 in transition. That's championship-level execution where you turn defense into offense before opponents can establish their half-court sets. Here's what really emerged from the entire NBA Today film breakdown that I think Knicks fans need to internalize. Preseason results don't predict regular season success, but schematic execution and offensive principles absolutely do. This wasn't the Knicks just out-talenting Philadelphia with Brunson going for 40. This was systematic basketball where role players thrive, ball movement created open shots, and Mike Brown's offensive philosophy generated the kind of spacing and pace that makes every player better. If this is the blueprint for what New York's offense looks like all season, the Eastern Conference should be terrified.